Wow, wow, wow. I have neglected this garden all summer. Literally. Since the morning that I cleaned off that pathway, I have not touched this garden. Until yesterday, where I did a little bit of trimming. But not that much. Let's take a look. Here we go. This way is blocked. Look at this. Look at this jungle. That is supposed to be into the side garden. Totally blocked. Can't get through there. And this. Look at this. Oh my goodness. Look at this. Woohoo! Oh man. Oh, look. There's a tomato plant. Tomato plant. Tomato plant. Surviving in the shade. Although it hasn't gotten very big this summer. Here's a tree I'm air propagating. There's another one. I have to check them to see if it actually works. Oh my goodness. What am I going to do here? So yesterday, I cleaned a little bit of this up. And I know you'd never know it. But this garden has been completely neglected. Completely. So yesterday, I took that tree. It's a red sumac. There's a little one growing there. I chopped it down. And despite the neglect, tons of grapes over there. Tons of grapes. All over there. Very nice. But the rest of it, look at how tall that grass has grown. Look at that. And then over here, there were so many suckers that grew up from this Granny Smith apple tree. And yeah, it's got apples on it. It had quite a few. I've already harvested a lot. Yesterday, like I said, I was out here, but I didn't, I had a choice. Either video or actually do the work. So I chose to do the work. So as you can see, I do the chop and drop. That's how I feed my trees. I do the chop and drop. I had to trim this rose bush. As you can see, I did the chop and drop. And that's more chop and drop. The apple tree and another sumac tree that grew up. There's another sumac tree, chop and drop. And in here, another sumac tree. Oh my goodness, yes. But look, 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 the Michal tangerines. I'm going to have lots of Michal tangerines. Yay! Despite the neglect. Despite the neglect. And over here, this doesn't look as pretty as you might want it to look. As you see, there's the pelargoniums here. There's a little blackberry there, which is very interesting, considering this was all neglected. It hasn't grown very much, but of course it hasn't gotten very much water either. And this African sage here, it was spilling over into the walkway. So I trimmed it all back and chop and dropped it here around the plum tree. Now the plum tree also had all kinds of suckers and sumacs growing up. So I totally took care of those. And as you can see, I chop and dropped. Just dropped it right there where it was. See? And the oregano's doing really well, despite the neglect. More chop and drop. And over here, there's also a little blackberry bush that is still there, despite the neglect. You can see it in there. And there you go. There's more of that blackberry. You see? This is what my garden looks like when it's neglected. It just keeps growing and growing and growing. And, well, just growing. So at the end of the year, I have to come back and trim everything. This one also, I trimmed the branches that were coming out and blocking the way. So you can see how many of those I trimmed off. You see, I trimmed off all the branches that were going to block my access here. And then again, this beautiful pear tree. I chopped off the dead branches. This tree survived a fire 10 years ago, almost immediately 10 years ago. And some of its branches died back, and I just never chopped them. And finally, I cut them down yesterday. And then there were also a lot of suckers growing up, and I trimmed the suckers back. And then, of course, there's sumacs, trim those off, and chop and drop. This is how I feed my trees. I chop and drop. This is how I feed them. This is how I keep the moisture in, and this is how I feed them. Because right now it looks like this. By next spring, you're not really going to see the leaves. They're going to be down closer to the ground, and you're going to see the branches. And so it's just going to look like I'm mulching with branches. And yay, that's all right. I can mulch with branches, especially if the leaves are underneath. So right now you've got the green. There's nitrogen in those leaves, and then they're going to turn brown. They're going to turn the carbon, and this is going to be very nice. It's all food for these trees. Over here, same thing. Sumac trees, chop and drop. And over here, I had some lantana growing up around this apple tree, and it was kind of smothering out the apple tree, and it was getting pretty serious. But I chopped that back, and don't worry, it'll grow back next year. I'm pretty certain of it. It's almost impossible to kill that. But in the meantime, it is feeding this apple tree, which should do well. And over here, there were some suckers on this pear tree. Not very many, but still, chop and drop. And that is a plum tree that is doing very nicely, and the chop and drop for it was the sumac. Now, over there, I had lettuce in those bins, and I've harvested those lettuces a long time ago already. And there are some strawberries. They're growing, and they're going to be putting out some more shoots in just a little bit, and they're going to fill up the container, I hope. But here's something interesting. Look at that. I've got these new plants growing in here. Not 100% sure what they are, but I'll find out soon enough. And then look at this. Look at this rosemary. Oh my goodness. This rosemary has taken over the entire garden. But there, you see, I trimmed it, and it looks much nicer in here. You can actually see a walkway now. You can see the oregano in there. Looks much nicer. Look at that. Looks much nicer. It's opened up under those trees. Ha! It's very nice that those trees are actually large enough that we now have an opening underneath of them, which is great. I'm very happy about that. So now I can come stand under this tree. And now that this tree is opened up, guess what? I can start putting things underneath here, and I'm trying to figure out what kind of bush I want there. I'm not 100% sure yet. But look at this rosemary. I have got to do something about this rosemary. But now is not the right time. Do you know why? Because the bees are having a wonderful time with this rosemary. Oh, what do we have down here? What do we have down here? Hello, little one. Hello, little kitten. Hi. Yes, about 6 weeks ago, the cat who adopted my yard, who adopted my garden, had kittens. Amazing. And now over here, here's the pond. I have not gotten to this section of the garden. Nope, not at all. I don't even know how it's going to be for me to tackle this one. Oh my goodness. But I will. I have to wait for this rosemary to finish flowering, and then I can trim it down. So in the meantime, I am just going to enjoy sitting on my deck and watching the bees. That is going to be amazing. All right, back to the yard. Okay, this garden. This is, wow, look at that. Cypress has overgrown everything. This is the papyrus. It's doing really good. And look at that. Very overflowed. Believe it or not, there are large fish in there. They have a lot of protection. First off, their water is not evaporating so fast. And secondly, the kingfisher birds can't see them. So I don't have to worry about the kingfishers. Ta-da! Look at this. Look at this. What am I going to do here? Look at this. Huh. This is being pushed over. Hold on for a second. This part of the garden I did not work on yet, but look at this. This is a type of palm tree, and it is pushing this bush over. Can you believe it? Look at that. I'm going to have to do something about that. And then you've got my neighbor's bougainvillea. That's these pink flowers. This bougainvillea has completely overtaken my orange tree. It is trying to overtake my grapefruit tree. I've got sumac trees growing up over here. Grapefruit tree, beautiful, beautiful. Also, lots of fruit. Lots of fruit. This despite being neglected. I just want you guys to understand this garden has been neglected. This is an apple tree that's two sumac trees have grown up really close to it. Well, these sumac trees are soon going to become food. They're going to help me in this garden. And then this is a pear tree. You see the chop and drop from the springtime. You see, remember, I did all the mulching. I used all the grasses from the winter time. I used that as mulch. And now I'm going to be putting the leaves from the sumacs and the trimmings over that, around that. So yeah, and over there's a sumac next to the cherries. I get to trim that back, and this is pretty much gone. I wonder if I can just knock it over yet, because I really don't want to have to cut through that base. So when it gets to the point to where I can just knock it over, I will. And then here's another grapefruit tree. You can see its leaves are kind of, it's not as old and established as that one. It's much younger, but it's still doing all right. It'll survive to that. Oh, and look at that grapefruit. Lots of grapefruit. More sumac. Look at this. More sumac for trimming. Yay! Woohoo! And more lantana. Yay! Woohoo! And ooh, there was an apple tree back here. And I wasn't sure if the apple tree was going to survive. I wasn't sure. But this tree certainly grew up. But look, under complete and utter neglect in our Mediterranean weather, this tree came back. Is it the same type of apple tree, or is it a different type? Because it's coming from the ground. So I don't know if it's the same type I bought or if it's one that was grafted onto. So I will just have to wait and see. No matter what it is, it will still be good. It is still an apple tree. Look at that. And whoo-hoo! Pomegranates. Myrtle bushes. Look at that. They've all blended together so nicely. Beautiful. Now my idea for these pomegranates. Woohoo! Here's one. Hello, pomegranate. Anyway, so my idea for this tree is that I want to keep the myrtle bushes. I want to keep them, you know, at pretty much head height. And then I would like to trim this pomegranate tree on the sides, I'd like to side trim it and have it grow tall and become a canopy tree. I think that would be pretty cool. And look at this olive tree. Now, this olive tree is a multi-base tree. Look at that. And it's almost like an olive bush as opposed to an olive tree. I can trim back some of these and then just leave this to grow up. I'm not 100% sure, but considering the fact that I trimmed this in the springtime to where it would have just 1 liter and all of those shot back up, wow, that's growing pretty well. Look at that. Another pomegranate tree. Oh, look, there's a bigger pomegranate in there. And then more sumac growing up to become food that's helping my garden. Yes, and look at this. This is a very tall bear plum tree. Very, very tall. Again, for it being neglected, it's growing very tall. The plum trees here like to grow tall. They do. Oh, look, the rose bush. It's flowering. And then this is another flowering bush that is being taken over by the figs. This is my neighbor's fig tree. It has invaded my garden, but I don't mind. I don't mind because the figs taste delicious. And even though I have to do a lot of work for the bougainvillea when it starts to take over, I don't mind because it's pretty. It puts color in my garden in the summertime. So I let it grow. It provides color in the late summer and midsummer. And then I trim it back. And in the wintertime, it goes dormant. In the spring, it grows. And it provides color. But look at these figs. Delish, delish, delish. Lots of grapefruits in here. Yeah. Look at that. All the walkways blocked. This garden needs help. Oh, and do you see over here? Do you see there's an almond tree there? See the almond tree? And then behind it is a rose bush. That rose bush is tall. Look at how tall that rose bush is. Look at that. So all of this is neglected. I have to go through here and I have to trim back things. Now this tree, oh my gosh, this palm tree. I will trim this palm tree back in the beginning of October. I'm not going to do it now. I'm going to do it at the beginning of October because right now it is serving a purpose. It is helping to provide shade and it's helping to block from the winds. And one of the reasons why this garden is doing so well is that it does have all of this shade around. And don't worry, I'll trim it back in the fall and then it will grow back again next summer. And it has been following this process for the last 20 years, about 15 years. Now it's just a matter of my getting through here. Wow. Woo! So, this currently looks like, what am I doing here? What is this mess? But soon enough, this is all going to settle down. And then it will become food for the tree in the coming year, especially when the rains come. It's just going to wash this, settle this down. It's going to be really good. In the meantime, this is a lot of shade. And at the end of the summer, you need the shade for the ground a lot more. You really need this mulch. It's a really good idea to have all of this mulched, especially at the end of the year. Because the end of the year, the soil is more dry. The end of the year, it needs more help to maintain the moisture. especially since the winds are going to start. And the ground is especially dry. You don't know when it is going to get the next rainfall. Even this, you see this? I did not trim this. I just walked it over. I just walked it down. So even this is ground cover. And when the weeds pop up again over the winter, I just knock it down, I trample it down, and even that provides nutrition for the roots of my trees. There you have it. There you have it. Lots of food production combined with a lot of neglect. I mean, this tree this year gave me a few hundred peaches. I have an apple tree up on the other side. It gave me like 5 pounds of 5 kilos of apples. This has been giving me apples. Of course, the lemons. No need to talk about the lemons. And over here, it's a veritable jungle. Oh my goodness. Look at this jungle. But these are growing. These are growing quite fast, finally. They weren't growing very much, and this year they're finally taller than I am. It took them almost 10 years to finally get this. Why? Well, mulch, 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 mulch. But also, I let the chickens rummage through here over last winter. And I guess the chickens provided them with the fertilizer they needed in order to finally grow tall. Anyway, wow. In here, oh my goodness. Yo, 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 yo. Woof. Look at these pomegranates. Look at these pomegranates. And then, of course, we had a lot of elderberry flowers this year. That tree has really exploded with growth. Like completely exploded. I had it trimmed where it was just a canopy, and now it's blocking the way again as the new shoots arrived. Anyway, I did not pick all of the flowers this year. I was hoping to get berries. I didn't get berries yet, but who knows? Maybe I will. Oh! Wait. Oh, wait. I gotta go see that. Oh, maybe I got berries. Hold on. Here we are, coming in from the other side. Ooh. Let's see. You can see this is just... You see that? All this new growth. Berries! Woohoo! Berries! Woohoo! Look at that! I'm getting berries! Oh, and I've got more berries over there. And more up there. And more up there. Oh my goodness. That was worthwhile. That was completely worthwhile. Not picking the flowers to get the berries. Nice. Look at that. Wonderful. And then I am going to have to trim this. Do you see all these thin new shoots? So there you go. This is 3 months of neglect in the heat of summer. That's what my garden looks like. This is what happens when you have an established garden, working on the principles of let the garden take care of itself. I bring in nothing from the outside in this garden. I only mulch with what the garden provides. Look at that. Even this rosemary is going to become nice mulch. And it's well established. And because I do not bring anything from the outside, and because I train the trees from a very young age to not have to need a lot of water in the summertime, and because I mulch, mostly because I mulch, and because I am patient And because I'm not worried about all the pretty flowers and all the annuals, I have a very green garden. I'm up here on my deck and I see a pretty green garden. Everything here provides me with food or something of substance for very little effort. Very, very little effort. It's all about foundation. It's all about training. When you train your plants and when you plant the correct plant for your region, you can have astounding beauty. And aside from the first 2 or 3 years, no effort at all. Look at that. Look at that. Until next time.